Hello, I'm Matt. I'll be your host for this fantastic documentary series. And in this first instalment, we'll be looking at the tales of witches and wizards in Newcastle upon Tyne. This is Twisted Tales. Hello and welcome to Twisted Tales. In this series we'll be looking at spooky and grisly events from history, also folklore tales that may or may not be true, but either way they will be very entertaining. So today we're in the northeast of England, in the city of Newcastle upon Tyne. Specifically we're here at the town Moor. Now this large area of common ground covers around 1,000 acres, much larger than Central Park in New York. And every year, Europe's largest travelling fun fair, the Hoppings, arrives here. But fun is not what we're all about today, because this moor has a dark and sinister past. Way back, almost half a century before the famous Salem witch trials in the United States, there was a long forgotten story of witch trials right here on our back door. And well, in 1649, the ruling council of Newcastle was so concerned with the presence of witches in the city, they ordered two sergeants, Thomas Sheville and Cuthbert Nicholson, to go and find a witch finder and bring him down from Scotland. So even though there is no official recorded name for this witch finder, he's often known as John Kincaid, a renowned Scottish witch hunter from Tranent. He was also very important in the Scottish witch hunts from 1649 to 1650 and also 1661 to 1662. So although it has never been verified, the methods that Kincaid used were so close to that of the Newcastle witchfinder, it is believed that he is the man to have carried out the hunt for the so-called witches. A town crier was sent out throughout the town, asking for people to come forward with any information that they believed that people may be witches. And as you can imagine, this was a great way for people to settle scores with each other. People they didn't particularly like, someone who didn't particularly fit in or look different from everyone else. And as you can imagine, it caused utter chaos. And in total, 30 unfortunate people were rounded up and brought to the town hall. So I'm now in Newgate Street in the city centre, and in 1650 this would have been the site of the Newgate jail. Now this is where 29 of the 30 suspects accused of witchcraft were held while awaiting their trial. One of the suspects, however, Jane Martin, was held at Newcastle Castle in the dungeons there, as this was the prison for her native county of Northumberland. So at this time, very little evidence was required to accuse someone of being a witch. All the witchfinder needed was a confession from their victim. Now, in the Newcastle witch trials of 1649, the method used was called pricking. Now, this used a needle called a bodkin, and the accused was stripped down publicly, and the needle was pierced into their skin. And if no wound was left or no blood would appear, then they clearly had their victim. But this is where the story gets a bit darker. So the needle that was used was in fact retractable. So when the witchfinder did test his victims and prick their skin with the needle would retract back into the handle, meaning that no blood was drawn and no wound was created. And this ensured the witchfinder found his guilty victim. Now, this practice was absolutely brutal, and the people who undertook this practice, they cared nothing about the truth. It was all about the payment. Now, the witchfinders were paid roughly 20 shillings, which is around £98 per head in today's money. And with the amount of accused, this stood for quite the payday. So, not all of the accused that were held in the Newgate jail would live to see their execution. Some of the people who were held here would inevitably not survive the torture that they suffered to extract a confession from them. One woman was known to be quite personable and quite godlike, not the typical warty old crone you'd expect to be associated with witchcraft. Now, one person, Lieutenant Colonel Hobson, objected outly to the pricking method, and although was committed the first time, they were acquitted eventually. Others were not so lucky. The ones that survived the imprisonment and the inevitable torture they sustained at the Newgate jail were eventually brought here to the Guildhall at Newcastle's quayside to stand trial. Following these trials, 16 people were found guilty. On the 21st of August 1650, 15 women and 1 man who had been accused of shapeshifting into a cat to summon demons by killing children were eventually sentenced to death by hanging. Now, this took place at the gallows just a couple of 100 yards in that direction from where I'm standing now. These hangings were carried out in public and were treated as entertainment. It grew quite a large crowd and was a very, very big spectacle. Imagine this day and age, taking your family out for a day in the park to watch people being killed for your amusement. Thankfully, we live in better times now. After the mass hangings on the town moor, the bodies of the 15 women and 1 man were brought here to St Andrew's Church, which is now the oldest church in Newcastle, not too far from the site of the old, long-gone Newgate jail. Now, they were buried in unmarked graves, which was very unusual at the time, as this was considered holy ground, and burying the bodies of witches here was very, very unusual. It is said that they were buried in unmarked graves on the north side, which is just over in that direction there, or potentially near a pit as well. Now, this could have been confirmed in 2008 when, during renovation works, several human remains were discovered, such as skulls, teeth, ribs. So, thank you for joining me on this journey of the Newcastle witch trials. My name's Matt, I've been your host, and I look forward to bringing you with me on the next journey in Twisted Tales. Stay twisted.